spitting on me. He literally, I could feel the spit come off of his mouth because of how close he was to my face, screaming in my ear. And he pushes me as hard as he can into the wall.
The truth of Jack Doherty is finally starting to be revealed, and it's not looking very good for him.
I woke up, and that morning, he had a contract in hand.
So those of you that have been watching me for a while now know that we've talked about Jack over on this channel quite a bit. And throughout the majority of those videos, I've always said that Jack just gives off the vibe that he's a terrible person. Now, obviously on camera, he was trying to make it seem like he was nice or that people actually liked him, when in reality, it was very likely that when he turned off the cameras, his true colors showed. And for whatever reason, whether it was because he paid them or because they were afraid to say something, the people around him were just completely silent about the fact that Jack sucks. And it's starting to look like I may have been correct about almost everything I said about Jack, because after his girlfriend of almost 2 years would abruptly leave him and even call the cops on him so she could get her stuff from him, because that's how afraid she was of Jack.
Like, my girlfriend called the cops on me to get all her stuff out.
She's finally come out about 7 months later to talk about everything she went through while being with Jack on a 5.5 hour long podcast. And let me tell you guys, some of the stuff they talked about on this podcast was absolutely insane.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna start a family YouTube channel and you're going to make so much money when you're pregnant and you have a pregnant belly.
So much so that I wouldn't even be able to talk about it in this video because it would get the entire video age restricted, which actually happened to the second episode of their podcast. But I still wanted to talk about this because I feel like people deserve to hear about how much of a piece of shit Jack truly is without having to sit through an entire 5 hour long podcast. Now, obviously, everything they talked about in this podcast are just accusations at the moment, but if you know anything about Jack, then you would know if he sees a chance to get attention, he's gonna jump on it. And considering he's been nothing but quiet ever since this podcast dropped, despite it having almost 3 million views in less than 10 days, I'm going to assume that everything they talked about in this podcast is 100% real, and Jack is hoping that by ignoring it, everyone's just gonna forget about it. But something tells me that's not gonna happen. So over the past year, one of the biggest allegations that came out against Jack was that he was having barely legal girls, or girls that were just a couple years over 18, sign really bad contracts that would essentially sign everything over to him and his agency so he can take the majority of their money. And Mckinley would basically confirm this when she would say that after only a few months of being with Jack, he would tell her that she either had to start an OF page so she can start helping make money, or they could no longer be together.
Michelle walked into the bathroom I was in. I was by myself, and she basically told me, listen, don't freak out, but Jack really wants you to start OnlyFans, and he said that there's no reason for you guys to be together if you're not helping.
And he did this not only after they had been together for months, after she started a new life with him over in Florida, but he would also do this despite for months claiming that he loves the fact that she doesn't do OF.
Everything that he had said to me, like, oh, I know you're my wife because you don't have one, and getting me to go to dinner and try to get me on OnlyFans, but it didn't work. Now it's an ultimatum. He wanted me. When he realized he didn't have the control over me when it came to other people and like what they could say, he realized that he did need to create an ultimatum for me.
And within 24 hours of him bringing this information to her, he would have a contract set up ready for her to sign.
I woke up and that morning he had a contract in hand and he told me to sign it. I didn't even have the opportunity to talk to my parents about it, but I didn't even have time for that or for any legal representation. He gave me the contract and he basically just said sign it.
Basically giving her absolutely no time to make her decision, and definitely not giving her enough time to have a lawyer read over this contract for her. A contract which she now admits basically signed over everything she had in terms of social media.
I read through it and I didn't like how it said, you know, he owns all of my social media accounts, because again, I had a following. I had 500,000 followers on TikTok. I had over 100K on Instagram. That was something I had built for years.
Now keep in mind, at this point, this was about 2 years ago now. She was around 20 years old, can't even legally drink yet, and she was making pretty inconsistent money off of social media. So even if she wanted a lawyer to read the contract, she had no money and no way of really doing so, which is exactly what Jack wanted. She basically had no choice but to sign the contract or leave this house and the extravagant life that Jack Jack was providing her. And this was a manipulation tactic by Jack because he knew damn well that this girl probably wasn't gonna say no and leave this crazy lifestyle that he was offering that she only got to see for a couple of months. So eventually she would agree to sign this contract under the guidance from Jack that all of this could be changed later, which obviously isn't true.
I just want to make sure, like, in this contract, do you actually own all of my accounts, even the ones that I have? And then he was like, no, the contract means nothing. Like, we can change anything, but it's whatever, just sign it. So I signed it.
Now that in itself is already bad enough, but that's without mentioning the fact that Jack was getting himself and everybody around him addicted to Adderall.
When I went there and like we went to the new house and he started filming more, you know, his way of success was Adderall. And he would always make jokes about that. He would give it to his employees. He would say, you'll work better if you take this, you'll be more sharp, you'll be more efficient, like you said. Like he really tried to get a lot of his employees on it because they were doing exactly what he was doing. He needs his filmer to be on Adderall. He would want the people he's working with to be on the same page because you're just like go, constant go.
Which is something that I did call him out for in my original videos. I saw this shit from a mile away, but now this puts this whole contract situation into a completely different perspective. Because obviously, if you give a bunch of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds something like Adderall, which if you've ever taken it, you would know that it's super strong and very addictive. Show them this crazy lifestyle with a bunch of yachts and supercars, and then say sign this contract or you gotta get the fuck up out of here. They're probably gonna sign that fucking contract. And it looks like that's exactly what Jack was doing. But that was really just the start of Jack attempting to control every single aspect of her life. It eventually got to the point where Jack wouldn't even allow her to get sleep because he was cranked up on Adderall all the fucking time.
I also want to say that he didn't let me sleep. That was something that I think he did on purpose. He every time I would try to go to sleep, he would wake me up and, be streaming and playing music so loud. Like I wouldn't go to bed until 3 a.m. And then he would expect me to wake up the next morning and work and film videos until the nighttime. And I tried so hard to get sleep and I couldn't. So I would sleep in sometimes. And then that's when he started to get more angry about how lazy and useless and replaceable I am.
And if you guys remember when he actually got broken up with and she came over with the police, Jack would actually start a live stream and immediately start complaining about how lazy she is and how she sleeps in all the time. But now we know the truth. Jack was really just cranked up on drugs 20 fucking hours a day, and he wasn't allowing anybody in the house to get any real sleep, which if we're being completely honest, was probably just another way of him controlling everybody around him, as they were all just a bunch of sleep deprived, drugged up zombies. And they were willing to do literally anything Jack said, because if they didn't, he would tell them how fucking worthless they are and kick them out of the house. I think everybody already knew this about Jack, but Mckinley would confirm that he was basically willing to do anything for the sake of a YouTube video, even if it meant putting other people in danger. Like when he would seemingly intentionally flip a golf cart while driving it on the concrete with Mckinley inside.
Oh, fuck.
And Mckinley would confirm that she does believe 100% he did this on purpose.
One of them being he flipped an entire golf cart on top of me on purpose, and it was for a clip. I know that because he was trying his best to flip it. And you can see in the footage, the only thing that he was looking for was the camera to see if they got it.
Obviously thinking that it would probably be a funny YouTube video. But it gets worse from there, because although Mckinley was seriously hurt after this incident, and even Jack would admit he thought she broke her neck.
The way it fell on top of me, it fell on my side. The back of the cart went at the back of my neck and I crunched over and then it hit my back. He said that he thought it broke my neck.
Jack was completely uninterested in taking her to the hospital and making sure she was okay, because he already had plans with Antonio Brown to live stream him going on his yacht.
I was in so much pain. He thought it was not that big of a deal. This again happened on camera, and he was just worried about getting the good clip and seeing it on TikTok, not making sure I was okay. I knew I needed to go to the hospital when this happened to me. But he had prior obligations to go on a yacht with Antonio Brown, so it wasn't a priority.
Of course though, when Jack would fucking faceplant into the concrete only a few months later while riding an electric bike, the very first thing he would do is take his ass to the fucking hospital.
They said I fractured my clavicle. Yeah, clavicle. And my brain too, you know.
And not that anybody needed any proof, but I think this really shows just how little Jack cares about anybody but himself. Jack might actually be the definition of a narcissist, but I'm really not surprised that he is. Ever since Jack was like 12 years old, people have been telling him how great he is, how fucking he accidentally tripped over a YouTube gold mine from fucking flipping water bottles on camera back when it was extremely popular. If Jack would have never turned on his fucking camera and flipped a stupid water bottle, he would quite literally be flipping burgers right now. And this is exactly why the internet needs to stop praising people for being talentless pieces of shit like Jack. Because if the world never put the idea into Jack's head that he's worth more than a shit stain on the sidewalk, I really feel like we may not be talking about him right now. The control that Jack had over Mckinley's life had gotten so bad that he wasn't even willing to let her buy a car for herself.
But Jack just didn't want me to buy a car. Like, that was some of our biggest fights, was me saying that I wanted a car. He didn't want me to have one. Still to this day, I don't know why that offended him so bad. I think it was obviously just the control that he wanted over me and not having a way of transportation, you know, to go to your house if I wanted to, or if I wanted to go to the mall or anything, you know, he wanted me to stay home. So
now this wasn't a situation where they couldn't afford to have her get a car. Let's not forget, Jack literally had 3 that combined equaled out to over $1 million worth of cars.
This car I bought for $360K. This car I bought for $400K. That car I bought for $210. So that is almost $1.3 million worth of cars if you count my Tesla and my Sprinter van.
And obviously he tried to hide behind the fact that buying an expensive car is a bad financial decision.
He told me that the car was a stupid financial decision, even though he owns, you know, 4 cars. And
while that probably is true, obviously that is not how Jack lived his own life. And when he found out that Mckinley was trying to buy a car behind his back, he would actually go into the joint account that they own together and take out all of the money.
That same day I bought my car, Jack and I had a joint bank account. We shared a bank account. He would, you know, take the money from OnlyFans, put it into this joint bank account, and take his cut of money. But when I went into my account, I realized that all my money was gone before I even could wire the money for my car.
The day you were buying your car?
The day I was buying my car, I went into that bank account, which was where I was gonna use that money to buy my car. I looked at it and it was all gone.
He would then proceed to put that money into the $3 million house that he just bought. And according to Mckinley, she never agreed to buy this house with him. And as a matter of fact, her name is nowhere on the house.
He took that money from me and put it into the house. And
how much?
I want to say $300,000. He stole from me that, and he said that we're buying a house. He never asked me if it was okay. He never... Whenever I said, I don't think that's what I want to do, I don't want to do that, him and his dad would come to me and say how good it's going to be financially. It's going to be a good investment. Even though my name,
Is your name on the house?
No. He just took the money.
So he essentially took that money from her, and it was a good couple $100,000, which is obviously absolutely insane. And not only does it show that Jack truly had full control over Mckinley, or at least wanted to, but I think it shows that Jack maybe doesn't have as much money as he wants everybody to believe, which is something that people have been speculating for quite a while now. And considering Mckinley was one of his main money-making sources, and she's now gone, I could only imagine that Jack really probably isn't making as much money as he used to. Mckinley would also expose the fact that Jack really is a completely different person when the cameras are turned off. Now, I don't really think this is something that needed to be exposed necessarily. I think almost everybody expected the fact that Jack was probably even more of a douchebag when the cameras were turned off, but she would specifically point out a time when Jack was really nice to her on stream, reassuring her that everything was okay while she was upset.
I'm fine.
Like, nothing happened. I'm not mad at you.
She's been acting all day.
But I have not. No, you're just like, I
Have though.
I have not, McKinley. I'm just live streaming.
It's fine.
It's not like, I'm not like acting towards
I know
any way
it's
towards
whatever.
you.
You're trolling whatever.
I'm not
don't
even trolling you.
care.
I don't even know what made you like start crying. I didn't
This is
stop
so
you.
negative of me
I have
all day.
not.
I just like an idiot around you.
No. Stop.
But according to McKinley, when they got home that same exact night, Jack was furious at her, calling her all sorts of different names, and just being a completely different person than he was just a few hours ago on stream.
We go home and I'm thinking, you know, everything's fine because as you can see in the clip, he's apologizing and saying everything's okay, nothing is wrong. I go back home and he's so furious at me. He's cursing at me, calling me a
Which is just honestly insane. Living with Jack actually sounded like hell, and I'm not joking. A raging Adderall addict with clear short man syndrome that was raised by a drunk mom and was literally given millions for doing nothing. That is a recipe for disaster, and we are no joke watching this disaster unfold in real time. Now, this is where the situation starts to get actually incredibly dark, and I'm not gonna go too far into this part of the story, but I do feel like it's necessary to talk about it because, again, I want you guys to understand how awful Jack really is without having to go and watch an entire 5-hour long podcast. So there would actually be a point in time where McKinley would end up getting pregnant, and when she told Jack that she was pregnant, the only thing that he could talk about was how much money they would make now that she's pregnant.
He literally was excited over the fact that we were going to make the most money we have ever made in our lives. It wasn't because he was excited to have a baby with me and have a family and start a new era of our life. It was, oh my gosh, we're going to start a family YouTube channel and you're going to make so much money when you're pregnant and you have a pregnant belly.
Which, I mean, honestly, I'm not surprised at all. But this is where shit gets a little crazy. Because later on that same night, he would end up going to the club, which I guess apparently is something he did all the time, so he could scope out new talent for his OF agency. And he would tell McKinley that he's gonna go get a new girl pregnant because nobody would want her because she has Jack Doherty's baby.
He ends up going to the club and he was, you know, making jokes about how he wanted to cheat on me, and now that I'm pregnant and can't do anything, that this is his time to get another bitch pregnant. That way he can keep me and keep her and just have me be there because no one would fuck with me if I had Jack Doherty's baby. That's what he would say to me.
I mean, holy fucking shit. What an insane thing to say to somebody, especially your girlfriend, who at the time was carrying your baby. Now, I will say she no longer has said baby, and I'm not gonna get too far into that whole conversation. In fact, I'm gonna ask that you guys leave that out of my comment section. But if this doesn't show how awful of a human being Jack is, I simply don't know what does. And I think this shows that all the shit talking that goes on the internet about him is starting to get to his head, which is honestly a fat W. And unfortunately, I'm not surprised to say this, Jack 100% seems like the type of person to do this, but Jack would apparently abuse McKinley, not only verbally.
But before I could even like do anything or text my parents, he had came outside and he was like, "You're just so annoying, like to deal with. I'm trying so hard not to fucking punch you in the fucking face. I'm trying so fucking hard. It's taking everything in me not to fucking punch you in the fucking stupid face." And he's grabbing his fist. He's red as fuck. His eye, it was not the normal Jack I was so used to. It was so like completely different. And I was terrified.
But physically as well.
I remember all I said to him was, "If I'm so fucking useless, then why do you take all my money?" That's all I said. And that enraged him. He was furious. He stormed over to me and he comes right here and he's like, "You're a stupid fucking spitting on me." He literally, I could feel the fucking spit come off of his mouth because of how close he was to my face, screaming in my ear. And he pushes me as hard as he can into the wall.
So if there's anybody that's watching this video that thought Jack was redeemable in any way, go ahead and forget about that, because Jack just might be one of the biggest pieces of shit in the history of YouTube. Now, if you guys watch my channel, then you probably know I'm usually not the first person to just believe any accusation that's thrown out onto the internet. But with this situation right here, I 100% believe McKinley. And I think I said that earlier in the video, but I sat there and I watched the entire 5-hour long podcast and never never once did I get the vibe that she was lying about this. And like I've said throughout the video, everything that she said about Jack, I'm not surprised about whatsoever. Jack is a complete piece of shit. And although 3 million people have already watched this podcast, I don't think that's nearly enough. I think everybody deserves to hear how awful of a human Jack truly is. So that right there is where I'm going to end this video. If you guys haven't already, I would definitely recommend you check out the rest of my Jack videos that I made. I know there's a lot of them, but it really is kind of crazy just how right I was about Jack in so many of those videos. If you guys did enjoy the video, don't forget to drop a like on it and comment down in the comment section, as well as hype up the video if you're watching it on your phone. All three of those things really help the video get pushed farther into the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching my content as usual. It really does mean the world to me. And with all that being said, I will see you in the next video.